Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Barry Robinson and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week, on popular sites like YouTube, Ustream, Facebook, MySpace. Type in the In My Opinion Show in your search engine to view. The In My Opinion Show is also seen on Comcast Cable Television, Channel 17, Flint, Michigan, every Saturday at 6 p.m. and every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. The In My Opinion Show is seen on Comcast Cable Television, Channel 68, Detroit, Michigan, 7 days weekly. Please consult your community calendar. First, I would like to address our talented co-host, Ms. Denise Smith-Allen.
Hi, Ron.
Mr. Henry Hatter.
Hi, Ron.
Welcome all to the In My Opinion Show. And especially our millions of viewers worldwide, welcome to the In My Opinion Show. Mad at the President, Obama. Why? Take the country back from who? Think of life as a great road trip. If you spend too much time looking back at where you've been, you'll miss what's ahead. Mad at the president for what? Since Obama's regime, all of a sudden folks have gotten mad and want to take back America. Back from who? Back to what or where is my question. I'm voting President Obama no matter what. He should get 8 years in term because he is changing America, and we all know why. They don't like it. Obama wasn't black. If Obama wasn't black, they would be praising and thanking him. After 8 years of the Bush-Cheney disaster, now you get mad. You didn't get mad when the Supreme Court stopped a legal recount and appointed a president. You didn't get mad when Cheney allowed energy company officials to dictate energy policy and push us to invade Iraq. You didn't get mad when we illegally invaded a country that posed no threat to us. You didn't get mad when we spent over $800 billion and counting on said illegal wars. You didn't get mad when Bush borrowed more money from foreign sources than the previous 42 presidents combined. You didn't get mad when over $10 billion in cash just disappeared in Iraq. You didn't get mad when Bush embraced trade and outsourcing policies that shipped 6 million American jobs out of the country. You didn't get mad when they didn't catch bin Laden. You didn't get mad when Bush rang up $10 trillion in combined budget and current account deficits. You didn't get mad when you saw the horrible conditions at Walter Reed. You didn't get mad when we let a major U.S. city, New Orleans, drown. You didn't get mad when we gave people who had more money than they could ever spend the 1% in tax breaks, over $1 trillion in tax breaks. You didn't get mad with the worst 8 years of job creation in several decades. You didn't get mad when over 200,000 U.S. citizens lost their lives because they had no health insurance. You didn't get mad when lack of oversight and regulations from the Bush administration caused U.S. citizens to lose over $12 trillion in investments, jobs, retirement, home values, and their homes. You didn't get mad when a black man was elected. You finally got mad when a black man was elected president and decided that people in America deserve the right to see a doctor if they are sick and not be denied insurance because of a pre-existing condition. Yes, illegal wars, lies, corruption, torture, job losses by the millions, stealing your tax dollars to make the rich richer, and the worst economic disaster since 1929 are all okay with you, but helping fellow Americans who are sick, oh, hell no to no. Hell no to that. People need to be reminded 2012 is a good year for them to remember. Let's get as passionate about re-electing our wonderful, hard-working President Obama as we were when we got him elected. Don't get complacent and don't take for granted he will easily be back in office. Wow. That's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful.
Sure is.
Martin Luther King, in his quote, said, "Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Denise, what do you think about what I just mentioned.
About what Martin Luther King said, or about being mad at Obama?
Mad at the president.
Okay, yes. Well, certainly people have what I call selective amnesia. I think you mentioned it in your itinerary or litany of reasons why people were mad or have forgotten to get mad, dealing with the idea that we didn't get here overnight. It took us a couple of administrations for things to have evolved to this point. And right now, what we're dealing with is recovery, slow, methodical recovery. And along the way, President Obama has had nothing but resistance to try to get some things passed. However, some things have gotten passed, despite. And the most important thing is this health care. You know, when you hear people talk about leave my health care alone, you know, I think a lot of times they're speaking out of ignorance, because what they had was not adequate for them. So the reform that has taken place now allows for people who had pre-existing issues, now they can have, you know, the medical care that they need. Mm-hmm. And that is just a monumental step. And I know that there were previous presidents who have tried to get that and were unsuccessful. And here we are today, and we have it. And so instead of being angry, they should laud that. They should be looking at that as a very positive thing. But what we know about American people overall, again, is there's this selective amnesia that takes place. And we tend to be emotional instead of thinking analytically. And we don't look at the big picture of the accomplishments that have taken place under extremely difficult circumstances. And again, I say because the recovery, in my mind, is still going forth. But we have people whose whole agenda, and it was said in one of the campaign ads, is the day the man was elected, there were people in place that said, we don't want to see him get a second term. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do what we need to do to stop it at every hand. And they have done so, but it still has not been totally without him making some accomplishments for the American people, and for that I'm very proud.
Oh, so am I. I think you know, thus far, under the duress that the president has been under, okay, he's done one heck of a job, and it's been difficult, especially when when it seems like he's had to go up against a whole political party, that have pledged to do everything possibly, so that he doesn't get reelected. Mr. Hatter, what are your thoughts?
Ron, you will not get me to argue that I'm not proud of the president, because he is half black. He looks like me, okay? But he also looks like somebody else. And my friends would say, whenever I use this argument, Henry, how can you say that Barack Obama's a black man when he's half of me as well? So I give it to them that way. Makes good sense. But I think that people who, and this argument about taking the country back from something doesn't make sense. That's all nonsense.
Exactly.
Political hogwash doesn't mean much of anything, because the United States belongs to all of us. Whatever it becomes is due to the composite direction of all of us. And there's nobody that say that they have a monopoly on what that direction ought to be. We're an aggregated body of people, built of all of us. But I'm sad by what you and Denise say about his policies. About Bush's policies is bringing about the downfall of where we are today. I think that America is on its right path. I think whoever is elected in November is the right person to be elected. I'm not, whoever it is. If it's Mitt Romney, he's the right person. If it's Barack Obama, he's the right person. As were all of the previous presidents. they would carry us to the next horizon. That's the way we've always done it. That's the way we always will be. And because, see, I don't look at the president's issues and ideology as so different from mine, and I'm mad at him. It's unfortunate he doesn't agree with my ideology or how I feel on certain issues, but he is the president. And so I don't begrudge him for that. He's doing what he needs to do under the circumstances. After all, Barack Obama was the person that says, I want to be president. I can do it better than all of the other Republicans and Democrats in the field. They ran to the primary. He says, I can do it better. Now, when he took that job, he knew the nuances to it. He knew the challenges to that job. You don't go back to the past and build your agenda on the past, as you had said. You build it on where do we go from here. And you don't dwell on the past, because if you dwell on the past, your adversaries will dwell on the past.
But you have to dwell on the past so if it's wrong, all right, then you can make it better.
Yeah, that's why we say, where do we go from here? We're a nation that has made tremendous progress over the last 40 years toward African Americans, particularly. We're proud of all of the things that all of the African Americans who have ever served the White House, we're proud of.
But at this point in time, if African Americans don't take a stand and see what's going on, all right, then we'll be back to pre-Jim Crow days.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
I think
will never go there.
I think that's what they meant when they were saying taking it back.
No,
taking it back. I think, no, seriously, there are some people in
that's
this
a
country.
Conspiracy theory.
Not necessarily.
But Americans will never go there.
Well, what I'm saying, though, Henry, there are a lot of people that have the opinion that in the 50s and the 60s, before, the civil rights really kind of took off, that things were, people had a place. And everybody was, in their place. And we liked it that way. And we liked it when there was this division, of the haves and the have-nots.
I agree.
They liked that. They liked that. Yeah. Okay.
Who liked it? Not everybody liked it.
I think that the majority in this country liked it.
As the way the legislation went in Congress. That's why you say the majority probably liked it. Otherwise it would have changed for the better back in those days. But I believe that Americans today are not the Americans they were in the 60s and the 50s. Those are different people. They have different aspirations, different views. And besides, by the year 2050, people of color will be the arithmetic and political majorities. We're looking back too far. We need to look at the challenges that we face, get our kids ready to focus on running this country along with the other plurality of people who will run it, like the Hispanics and the whites.
But how do we get that educational level up? I think it's a conspiracy, in my opinion, all right, now in the schools, all right, to dumb down our kids.
It's not the school system's fault.
Maybe
That's
not all.
System.
Sure, it's the system.
Sure,
it's the system. It's the system's fault. All right, because you got all kinds of deadbeat teachers, deadbeat administrators. All right, that are only caring about that paycheck. Okay, so unlike the great job that that you folks are doing out there in Clio, I mean, the rest of these school systems around the country, should come and take a look. Okay, and see the difference.
But Ron, parents are probably the weak link in all of the education process. They don't come and participate. They don't sit down and say, Mrs. Jones, explain this. How did Johnny get this D?
Well, that's because they probably got D's, or they haven't, or they
we don't want to make that assumption.
or they haven't had public education or something of that nature. All right. I mean, it's a fact. All right.
Right.
It's a fact in a lot of cases. All right. If you got kids going to school and their parents didn't finish high school or grade school, how do you expect for them to have that wherewithal okay, to encourage their children. All right.
I don't buy that
To,
argument. I don't buy
to
that
finish school.
argument. I don't buy that argument because you had people in the turn of the century in the early
Yes.
1920s and 30s who were sharecroppers and what have you, and they were proponents of education, and they wanted
Of
their
course.
children
And they
get
mastered it.
and they sent their kids to school, and they did things to ensure that they had money so those kids could go to school.
Of course, there were sacrifices.
So I mean, but I'm saying so that argument doesn't hold because we've had illiteracy, okay, and we've had people who have not had a complete education, but that doesn't stop them from encouraging their children.
Okay, well, let's just take a look at this. All right, since our shows originate from Flint, okay, over almost 60% of the children that go to school in Flint don't ever graduate.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Now, we can argue about why, but I'll go back to what I said before. A lot of these people, a lot of these parents, I shouldn't say these people, a lot of these parents, all right, they didn't have a high school education. A lot of them probably didn't get through the 6th grade or 7th grade.
The other piece to that,
if you don't have that educational history, if you will, behind you, then how are you going to motivate your kids?
the other piece to that, Ron, is the fact that they are inundated with drugs and other things. The diversions that have plagued our community have, proliferated. As I mentioned, those parents who are like our great-grandparents and our grandparents who had educational deficits, but they encouraged their kids to do better. They didn't have what's going on in the last 30 to 50 years in terms of the drugs and the alcohol and the incarcerations and all this other stuff that has diverted the energy that, the nucleus of a family, would spend their time trying to push their children towards education. They're not doing that now because a lot of them are absent. They're not there. Okay.
Well, that's a factor as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And Ron, I'm so glad that you're hanging in there and you're defending that institution or parents and kids and stuff like that and criticizing the institutions of government. You should do that because we represent so that our audience will see both sides of this issue. They don't always get two sides of it. They only get one side of it. And you got to remember that parents, you made the statement that parents are not educated. They didn't go to school. They didn't complete school, but they're still exposed to the greatest education medium in the world.
Sure, absolutely, I agree.
TV, school systems, presentation. In my opinion, all of those shows, college programs that teach our people to ramp up their lifelong learning process, if you will. So there's no excuse for parents who do not get out of bed in the morning in Flint or Clio or whatever to make sure that there's a breakfast on the table for their kids. And
and that's another problem.
Like when we were kids, we did it. They never talked about sending us to school without something to eat. But parents need to get out of waiting on government to do it. They need to do it so that they transfer love and care and sensitivity and compassion to the child.
A lot of these parents, I agree with you, they didn't have it. So how are they going to convey this? To these children?
Because
right?
that is always before you. The advocacy groups are always there encouraging parents to do that and showing them where to find the resources. Denise is one of them.
Let me ask you this, Ron, because I know our general topic, we started out talking about issues related to why President Obama, people are mad at him. Okay, and so you mentioned, like I said, a lot of different areas where they have issues, or so they say, have issues with his candidacy and being reelected. And so I wanted us to kind of get back to that again because I think we were kind of like all over the place, and I know some of the things that we talked about are relevant to it. But I really want us to focus back on what we were talking about in relationship to him. Because we have a medium here to convey to the audiences about the things that have been accomplished in his presidency and the things that still need to be done.
Well, I think also too. I agree with you. But his. I think that that they have issues with his governance. All right, and those and a litany of all of those things. Why they say he's mad. All right, and the quickest way that I've found is to get the heat off you is to blame somebody else. All right, even as a kid, it's called a lie. All right,
Perspective.
I guess why can't people that complain see the truth, speak the truth. All right, why is it necessary for people to lie? All
But
right?
Ron, the truth is not always very definitive. The truth is somewhere in between these two distinct pieces. Not everybody has it all right. So you have to look for that. And it's incumbent upon voters, intelligent men and women, not to be driven by rhetoric.
Right.
But that's the benefit of education, is to be able to discern yourself with the facts, with what you believe, not with BS.
Yeah, but most of those 535 people up there in Washington, all right, the ones that are supposed to be looking out for our best interests, okay, I could just about say that most of that stuff that I quoted, all right, come from a bunch of those folk, all right, and they're supposed to be our leaders. So how can you what's the word I'm looking for? How can you agree with with stuff like that?
There's not a question of agreeing with them. People who are in politics, they go into it for a variety of reasons. They have their own agendas. They may be considering the agendas of the people for which they represent. And if they live in a rural community or if they live in an urban area, there are different needs for those communities. And so it's based on what the constituency is giving them in terms of, these are our issues and we want you to represent those issues. And then again, like I said, if the person who's got the office, if they have their own personal thoughts, their own philosophy, which is in opposition to the leadership that's there in office right now, then you're going to see this stuff played out in the media, in all the different things that are taking place over a period of time. Whereas this is my community, this is my state, this is my organization that I'm representing, and these are our issues. Okay, and so the president has a balancing act because he still has to get along with these people that are representing these various states. He has to get some kind of consensus from them, and that's a very, very precarious situation to be in when you already know coming out the gate that there's a group that says, I don't care what he says. If he says the sky is blue, we're going to say it's red.
Yeah. Well, they need to.
That's just it.
The people need to kick their ass out of office.
It's not that easy.
Too.
Well, the press too. And that's what I don't like about the press. But that's another thing because they're embedded with with whomever it's got the biggest story. But go ahead, Mr. Hatter.
No, you may complete your summary and then
I'm through.
Denise.
Pardon me.
You may complete your summary.
Oh, well, I think I did, because I guess where I was going with this is that, you've got those persons who are elected, they come from various parts of the country, they have their own personal agendas, and then they also have the obligation and the responsibility to represent their constituencies from their various states. And what we have going on in Michigan may not be the same for Hawaii. You see,
but basic truth should be basic truth everywhere.
Whose truth?
Yeah,
whose truth? See, you got truth. Henry said is relative. Because your truth. I mean, 3 people can see an accident, and we can all have a different version of it, and it's our truth. Okay, so it's the same thing. You're talking about various perspectives. Okay, So the people have to be educated with the perspectives, and then they have to make a judgment and a call
Okay.
on what they believe will be beneficial to them.
And you know, because of all the things that's happening in the United States, we as a community, as members of the black community or the regional community here, we have these issues. So we need to get away from race so much. We need to talk about issues that are pertinent to all people.
We
so
can
that
never get away
influence.
from race until we come to the conclusion that there is a race problem in America.
Oh, we
Face it up.
Yeah.
But this has been a great conversation on In My Opinion show. I want to thank our millions of viewers worldwide and my technical staff, and especially my co-host, as well as our millions of viewers worldwide. This is Ronald Berry Robinson for the In My Opinion show saying until next time, stay focused.